Hello and welcome to Inside Lines Podcast, where we celebrate incredible women in and around sports. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson, and let's dive into the latest happenings this week. First up, it's time for Let's Talk About It, where we break down the latest headlines that you should know. Running back Scatterboo suffered a dislocated ankle with only 8 minutes and 7 seconds left in the second quarter of Sunday's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He has already had surgery and he is on the road to recovery. So we're so grateful for that and wishing him a speedy and quick recovery. The Jets also got their first victory of the season during a time where we heard about center Nick Mangold, who also played for the Jets, died at age 41 from complications of kidney disease. In a team statement, Johnson called Mangold a cherished member of our extended Jets family. And I'm so glad that the Jets were able to get that win. I'm sure is meaningful to many when they heard that. After the Jets win, Justin Fields got emotional just talking about the road to that first win. They were 0-7 before that game. And he said, when I was on the field, I was damn near crying, not because we won, but just how everything I've been through the past week, everything we've been through as a team, these past 7 weeks, there's been lots of ups and downs. So I'm so very happy for him. There's been a lot of heat on him, and it's very hard to carry all that weight. I often think people just think about the wins and the losses, and they don't understand how hard these players try, what they go through physically, emotionally. And he talked about being in his closet and just crying and, needing his closest family members and friends to pick him up. So I know he's on a high this weekend, and I'm so grateful for him and his team. And I'm hope and pray that they get a lot more victories. Okay, moving on to our next segment, which is called Make It Make Sense, where we tackle everyday curiosities and questions we all discuss behind closed doors. So here's my Make It Make Sense, y'all. Why are there Christmas decorations out before Halloween? Stores are out of control. They are putting out Christmas decorations earlier and earlier. I get it. They say it's for retail reasons, financial reasons. They're aiming to extend the sales season to maximize their profit and just get a head start on making money. But has it gone too far? Is Christmas decorations in October insanity? I think for me, I don't want to see Christmas decorations in October. I am one of those people where I love every single season. I'm talking, obviously, Halloween. We call it Burloween around here because we have a big Halloween party. And we call it Burloween party because it is all in fun. We have adults dressing up, just being kids and enjoying themselves. And to me, that's what it's about. But as I'm preparing for Burloween, I do not want to see Christmas decorations. It's crazy. And then after Halloween/Burloween, you have Thanksgiving. I want to enjoy Thanksgiving. I want to give thanks. I want to bless another family and help them in their season that they're in. I do not want to think about Christmas. Okay. So I want to ask you, make it make sense. Is it normal to see Christmas decorations in October? Is it out of control? Tell me what you think. I mean, I'm thinking about what other holidays overlap. St. Patrick's Day. This is around St. Patrick's Day. You got Thanksgiving. You got Easter. You got Valentine's Day. Why is it that Christmas tries to take over so many seasons and holidays? It's just not fair. Y'all chime in and tell me what y'all think. Is there a solution to this problem? What do y'all think needs to happen? But as for me, we're going to celebrate Burloween. We're going to turn up, and I'm not seeing any Christmas stuff until maybe I'll think about it closer to Thanksgiving, but definitely not in October. Okay, and finally, we stir up a good debate called It's Debatable, which sparks conversation and finds out whose team you're really on. Are you ready? We were talking about the top 5 Halloween songs, and I want to ask you what you think about the top 5 that we came up on here. We asked a few different people within our circle. We asked a few different people outside of our circle. We tried to, be diverse in the people that we ask. And here's the top 5 Halloween songs that we came up with. Okay, so at number 5, we had that song. I don't know if y'all heard the song Somebody's Watching Me. I always feel like somebody's watching me. That ended up making the list. It was tied, but we just ended up bumping that one to 5 because you had to break the tiebreaker. Number 4 was the creepy horror music that you hear in scary movies, like dun 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 dun, like that. That was number 4, which, okay, I get it, because I remember being a kid and being scared out of my mind when I heard that. So that's at number 4. Number 3, it's a little nostalgia, but I get why. Ghostbusters. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. That was number 3. Number 2 was the Monster Mash. We all know the Monster Mash. Get it. And we all know what number 1 was. Number 1 was, which I don't think is ever going to be beat ever, Thriller by Michael Jackson. You have the scary music in the beginning. You have the dancing. You have the ha 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 ha. You just have all of it. Da-na, da-na-na. It will always end up being number 1. When I say Michael Jackson outdid himself with Thriller, there is nothing better than Thriller. Y'all tell me, do y'all agree with this top 5? Tell me what y'all think. Y'all think it should be mixed a little bit, maybe move one down, one up? We're definitely not moving Thriller because it just blew everything else out the water. But the other ones, they were pretty close and a little debatable. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Okay, that wraps it up. Now we're going to move into our very important topic of breast cancer awareness. We have an amazing panel of women that are telling their stories, that are educating you, and just reminding you to get checked. Make sure you tell your sister, your aunts, your mothers, any family members you know that has not got checked. Please, please, please remind them to get checked. Okay, y'all, enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's important discussion on breaking the stigma, the importance of conversation around breast cancer awareness here at Englewood Health. I'm Atoya Burleson, your host, and I have the privilege of moderating this panel. We all know breast cancer affects millions of women and their families worldwide and can be a subject surrounded by fear and stigma. Today, we break the silence, share powerful stories, and discuss how we can foster meaningful conversations about early detection, mammograms, and the support we can offer one another. So first off, I'm delighted to introduce our panelists. We have Dr. Corday Dakota, who is a board-certified podiatrist, breast cancer advocate, and dynamic speaker. She leads talks with Dr. D, Sisters on the Vineyard, and Stepping Forward with Dr. D, creating spaces for empowerment and real conversations. Thank you for coming on. We're excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And next up, I would like to welcome Kimyelle Reeves. She is a 42-year-old breast cancer survivor, diagnosed with stage 1A luminal breast cancer and DCIS after a double mastectomy just recently. She's currently undergoing reconstruction, and as the CEO and founder of KMR Group, Kimyelle has worked with major companies like LinkedIn, Procter & Gamble. So it's so exciting to have you here to talk on so many levels. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We also have Michelle Morgan. She is Director of Sales for Saban USA. She is also an RN and a DNA analyst. I'm excited to have you discuss so many different topics that surround breast cancer, especially on the beauty side. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Sheila Dennis, a forensic biologist, friend and health advocate here at Englewood Health for the community. And I thank you for championing this on and bringing us together to discuss. So I'm excited to have you all on and talk about so many parts of what breast cancer is and break the stigmas about what it's not. Okay, so let's get started. Questions for Dr. Corday. We have to start with you because I'm so glad to get you here. I'm honored to have you here. As a survivor, can you share your journey with breast cancer and the role early detection played in your story?
Absolutely. Early detection is prevention. I think I was a little bit late with my diagnosis because partly being a physician and knowing too much. So the year I was diagnosed with a fibroadenoma, which is a non-cancerous mass found in dense breasts, usually of women of color, at 16. Had it removed. Then I had it again when I was in residency, had it removed. So now I'm thinking, I'm great. 2017, it reappeared, and I had a mammogram, an ultrasound, and they said, that's what it is. Okay, so I said, let's leave it. 2018, it became painful. And I remember I was supposed to round with residents at the local hospital, and I freaked out and I said, oh my gosh, I must be dying. I saw my surgeon, Dr. Margaret Sacco, who's out of Overlook, amazing. It was the same thing. And I got lazy in 2019 and pushed the mammogram and ultrasound down. When I had it, they said it was abnormal. So automatically I went to my mother and I said, have you had one like that? She said, yes. So I assumed I'd be fine. We had no breast cancer history in our family. I waited because I was so busy taking care of my patients. I did the biopsy. I know, put me last. I did the biopsy the day after Thanksgiving so I wouldn't have to take time off, and then was diagnosed on 12/3/2019, which everybody remembers their date of diagnosis. I was diagnosed with HER2 positive, ER/PR weakly positive, stage 2B breast cancer. And needless to say, it was pretty devastating for me at that moment.
So when they told you, did you automatically think, this has to be wrong? What can make this make sense for me? What were your thoughts?
So my surgeon called me and I said, yeah, Dr. Sacco, I already know you want me to take it out. Look, I don't have time. I got surgery next week. I'm taking out this person's doing a transmetatarsal amputation. And she told me, sit down. And she told me, and I understood what she said. And then she said, I know you won't go to sleep tonight. So I'm going to be here till 4 if you can make it. Come with your team. And so I was blessed to go to the appointment with my OBGYN. Who gets that? But she's one of my besties. And my sister, who's a general counsel for a hedge fund. So I had a team. And then on top of that, my medical oncologist is another good girlfriend. I was not the average patient. And that kind of clicked from day one because I said, I know what patients, wait for and get involved with. Right. And I'm not getting that. And this is going to be very different than maybe for the average woman.
Let's talk about the average woman. Let's talk about the fears behind that. Because number one, no one wants to be diagnosed. We all understand that. Number two, where do you start? What do you do? So when you talk about the average patient, a lot of people think like, oh gosh, I don't want to have to go through that. And then I don't even know where to start with the doctor. How do I know they're good? How do I know they're going to do what they're supposed to do? I'm sure you've heard those stories. What does that look like for you?
I definitely would say from the point that you get diagnosed, the first thing to do is to build your village. Don't go through it alone. I don't care if it's one person that you trust, because sometimes people are like, I want anybody to know my business. And I can respect that, but you're going to need help. Number two, ask people. I mean, unfortunately, breast cancer is rising from young women in their 20s, double the risk, 40% higher in African-American women. There's somebody out there who's had it, who can say, girl, I went to this doctor and he or she was amazing. Number three, ask your doctor, who would you go to if this was your sister or mother? They're going to give you real answers when you put it like that, usually. And then number four, finding an advocacy group. Those, I think, are your biggest things to help that journey, because you feel alone and you absolutely don't have to be.
Thank you. Emile, your diagnosis is recent, a few months recent. Talk about the mental side of finding out and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think that I've quite processed it because it just happened. It was June 26th. I had the mammogram. Like, my radiologist called me and said, hey, there's some things that we want to have you come back in and take an ultrasound on. And so I was like, okay. And so it was like July 3rd. It's like, hey, I want you to come in for a biopsy. No, it was before July 3rd. But July 3rd, I was staying in line at the DMV, the motor vehicle.
Best place ever.
I was like, do you get out of the line?
Yeah. And I was like,
you might not get another appointment.
Legit, that's like where my head was.
Like
yes.
a travel stamp or something?
No, to get your, my registration had expired. Yeah.
So never getting out of
The real
line.
ID.
Life was life, so like, I thought I had 2 years, I had a 1 year, whatever. And so I did. I was like, do I get a line for this? Or it's like, it can't be like a bad news. It's the middle of the afternoon. I got a text message from them saying it's called before 3 because we're going to be closed over the 4th of July holiday. So I'm like, he just wants to let me know everything's okay. They would never give me that kind of news over the phone. So I answer the phone and he's like, hey, yeah, malignant carcinoma, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, so you want me to come in for like a biopsy? He was like, oh, no. Let me break it down for you. And I was like, oh, wait, so are you saying I have cancer? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay. I tend to be like a glass half full person. And so like, I knew I wasn't going to like end my life like in this moment. So I was like, all right, what are the next steps? And I just feel super fortunate to your idea around like mental health. Coming into that moment, I had been through like several career kind of like changes and ups and downs. And so I found like this place of like peace and calm. And then I started a job and was laid off 3 days later. And so I was like, oh my gosh. But had I not gotten laid off, there wouldn't have been this urgency to get all of my appointments in before your insurance changes. And I knew that they had really good insurance. So I was like, let me get all of my appointments in. And in getting my appointments in, that's when I got the diagnosis. And so it really kind of set the stage for like what wellness and what Camille needed going forward. And so I would just say I was grateful coming into this moment, already kind of being grounded spiritually. And my father and stepmother were here. And as a matter of fact, when they scheduled the trip, I was going to just be working while they were here. And like, so I think God just kind of knew who needed to be where. And when I got the news, I was actually on my way to my partner's condo. And I tell him, and like, that's when I learned that his mother had gone through. I was like, how did, like, you really just like provided this human in my life that he kind of like has been through this, on the front row before. And so I got home and told my father, and that was only like the half diagnosis. Like there was still more to come. Right. Like a couple of weeks later, they're like, oh no, you have a second one. And I'm like, wait, where? Like, what? Yeah, we thought that it was one, but when we did the MRI, we could see that it's actually in 2 locations. They're not actually connected. And so, like the story just kind of like compounded from there. But I would just say like, this is one of those situations. I think I was watching some podcast and the doctor was like, Black women need to do a better job of not reducing stress, but eliminating stress. And that was like where I was in life. And so that was like the mindset I was in when this happened. And so I think I was just able to, and now to your spot, I'm a very private person with my business. And my first instinct is to like say nothing. And then I was like, I'm probably going to need some help. So from a selfish place, I was like, I should say something. But then I was like, I wanted to control type A, the energy, and not have to manage other people's trauma and stress or anxiety or their, wherever they were coming from. So I was just very selective in who I did share it with. I'm a part of a Bible study group. My sisters are like very faithful and strong and always praying. Of course, like my mother and father, and then my partner. And then, and it's interesting when I was waiting for the right moment to tell my mom, because she like is like, you kind of remind me of, I was like, oh, how you can keep all your thoughts together with all you have going on, I have no idea. Like, I'm like on the whole other lay back Cali type vibe. And like, I don't get you. And so it was 2 times I called her. She's in the way, on the way here, on the way there, on the way there. And finally, the 3rd time she said something touched her to sit down. And so I finally told her. It was a great conversation. So I think like just being able to have like that curated group of people that you knew that you weren't going to have to like babysit through the process, and that were truly going to have like the same kind of foundation from a spiritual standpoint.
There's something that you said, and this is a question for all of you. Why do you think women often feel hesitant about discussing breast cancer openly?
I don't think I was thinking about it. I think from my family's from the Philippines, they're 1st generation immigrants, and they don't want to burden anybody. So it's like, let's get through this. And they're healthcare people. My mom's also a retired nurse.
My mom's an immigrant, just like you and my dad.
So it's like, of all the things they had to overcome and go through, this is just something added to it. So let's not talk about it and let's just get through it. Just similar to you. It's like, it's really about being a burden. Yeah. They'll get it done. They'll just take care of it themselves because they don't want you to be burdened. And I say that because I'm just thinking of my mother. And even with this surgery, she's like, so do you need me to, help you? I have an upcoming surgery. So do you need me to be around? And like, are there things that, you can do? And I find myself being that person, not asking for help or saying I would like somebody there to help me because I feel like I'm the burden.
Interesting. Yeah. So you feel like you've seen that it's passed along, not even recognizing that it has been, right? Subconsciously, it's been passed along.
Generational.
It's good.
Cultural.
What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think I'm Latina background from New Orleans. Luckily, and thank goodness, we haven't faced any breast cancer in my family. The biggest thing, my dad had heart surgery. I say that would be, now 15 years ago. So that was the biggest thing I think we faced. But again, like he didn't want to tell anybody. He just he wouldn't even just pretend that it wasn't happening. And for my family, for some reason, and again, like my mom, immigrant as well, came from Guatemala. Sometimes it was like she just didn't click on the regular doctor's appointments that now we all find ourselves like every year we need the physical and every year we need these markers and now we even need more tests. And you talk to my mom and dad and they're like, I've never heard of that. What are you talking about? It's like certain markers or certain things that now we do to make ourselves even healthier, live longer, things that they say, oh, you don't need to know your vitamin D levels. Yes, we do. You don't need your vitamin C levels. Yes, we do. And they're like, just like, my doctor tests me for everything. And I look at the results, having knowledge on the nursing side and also just being passionate about kind of healthcare and wellness. And I've done a lot of work with integrative medicine because I myself have a thyroid issue. So I think that it's introducing my parents more now and my mom getting a little more on Instagram that we're getting a little more comfortable with now she's sending me all kind of stuff that I used to tell her. And I'm like, see, but at least it's getting better, so little things like that. But I guess it just started growing up. It was like, you don't need a gynecology appointment, until you're older. Like, you don't need that till you're in your 20s or 30s. And it's like, no, you got to start, pre-planning your health plan. So
do you think that from social media, she's now recognizing the importance of these topics?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so many, I wouldn't say my dad is because he's not on social, but like for sure my mom and people that you would talk to that were very closed-minded on healthcare and what labs meant. It's like you could ask people what all these labs mean and they don't know a thing. They just go to the doctor and am I okay, am I not? And they don't even know if they got the right tests done. So I think, but now also social media, you have to be careful because now it's overkill. And it's like, it's not.
That's not true.
It's not the library. It's not the encyclopedia.
WebMD, you are not a physician.
Yes, exactly.
Not for me.
But it does help break a little bit of the stigma of talking about or learning a little more. So
when you heard the words breast cancer, I think about growing up. It was almost a death sentence, right? That's kind of what, when people said, oh, it's like the music, dun, dun, you know what I mean? But now, with all of the research, it's just changing that stigma and what it used to mean and helping people to realize that it's no longer that. How do we get that message across?
I think I want to go back to advocacies, and in social media, there are stage 4 thrivers. And people think, oh my God, they're dying. They're not dying. They're living their best life because medications are getting better and better. Keytruda, things of that nature. The triple negatives, which were a death sentence, particularly in a lot of women of color. Those were death sentences. We now have better medications for it. Medicine gets better day by day, month by month, and year by year. So what may have killed maybe your grandmother may not kill you. It's a matter of how you manage it. I think also we need to talk about it. And it has to be by people that people identify with, but people look like them. If another woman is telling you something and you're like, okay, because it's a woman in front of you,
It's interesting. I told one of my friends, I was like, this is like the VIP club you never know you wanted to be a part of. That's like my sick sense of humor because, just like you talked about, like all of the benefits that you never knew like existed, and now they're like calling you and rolling out the carpet and letting you know all of your options. Then you have the advocates from the health insurance companies calling, et cetera. I remember one time I needed to start, not one time, like this is like last week. One time in band camp, no, last week, I was starting the X-ring process and the drugs had not shown up. And they were like, just ask for, like tell them you talk to me, like the head nurse. And when you get there, just ask that nurse and they should have some on hand. And so I told her and she's like, oh, I'm not sure. And I was like, Mary told me because of my diagnosis. And she's like, oh, hold on one second. She's like, I'll be right back. Came in with like all these drugs. I was just like
shout out to Mary.
Yeah, I was like, not the pink carpet treatment. Like,
well, you did mention, you talked about, you felt like you had a really great team. Talk about like what that process has been like for you, because it's so recent.
Yeah, Chef Kwame, if you see this video, said from Tatiana, said that it was easier to get diagnosed with cancer and to go through the surgery and start the reproduction process and all those things, and it is to get like a reservation at your at your restaurant. I still have not been able to get a reservation at a right. Well, and so what was funny though, yes, but what was interesting was so I was here at Englewood Health. And Dr. Gillen, being my surgeon, was like, listen, all you need to do is answer the phone. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what that meant, except for my phone never stopped ringing. But what that meant was like, her office was already coordinating with the plastic surgeon, with the physical therapist, with the occupational therapist, with the oncology. It was just like, I didn't have to do anything like, oh, let me check to see if I'm available, X, Y, Z. And like, of course, some of the modern technologies like my chart, et cetera, where you can see where you need to be when and all of those things. But I would say that like in the absence of having a team like yours where you knew who to know, I think it would be super unfortunate if your outcomes were just based on who you knew. And what I felt here was because I was like in a single network, that like I was super proactive intentionally on my care, then like I kind of still had that same kind of love. And I did all the things like call and see if I can get into MSK to get a second opinion. I got herded around. And I was like, you know what? I get like their reputation, but if this is like the stress that I have to, I was like all about removing stress. I was like, no thanks. Like, I really do believe in like the flow. Like, I think God puts the right people in your path and the connections in your life. And like, literally because my primary was like, hey, here's a list. Here's who I recommend. Go get your mammogram from here. This is my first mammogram, by the way. Wow. And then when I went for my mammogram, Dr. Gillen was like, your radiologist was a rock star. She's like, because your cancer is so tiny that it could have went another year being detected, which we would be having a completely different conversation. She's like, but it's so tiny that, and like heads off to Dr. Petty over at Bergen Imaging, but he found that, first piece and the second piece. So I would just say like in the absence of having like that rock star team who knows what to ask and the proactive things, like the care here, like plug for Englewood Health, I guess.
I mean, but it's true. Like,
it is. It was just like, so that's why I was like, oh, this is the VIP like membership. I never knew I wanted to be better than Costco. So I forewent getting a second opinion because I was just like, you know what? This just feels right? Like when I reached out to MSK, complete chaos, when I reached out to a couple other ones, and I was just like, I feel really, and then when I researched Dr. Gillen, like she specializes in women of color breast cancer, early stage. So I was like, oh my goodness, like what better hands to be in? But is there a world where like post surgery, but like I haven't started the actual treatments yet, right?
You haven't started what, chemo?
So I won't have to have chemo or radiation. I will have to start tamoxifen. My question is like, is there a world where I would want those results kind of evaluated to ensure that that wouldn't benefit from chemo, radiation, or some other.
You could always do a second opinion with a medical
surgery,
a medical oncologist, because now the medicine part is through the medical oncologist. The surgical part's done. Even though the surgical oncologist would probably agree, but the medical oncologist is your best bet. Why would you not? When patients tell me they've ever wanted a second opinion, I'm glad, because it's going to prove that I was right, and you come back and I'm like, okay. Or you might teach me something. And if a doctor is not teachable, then what's the point? Medicine evolves every day. So teach me. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, somebody is probably better at something that you are, and that's okay. And sometimes they're not it's equal, and you're like, okay, patient feels comfortable with you, great. So I would say definitely go for it. I think your doctor is amazing, but why not? If your insurance is covering it, why not hear more?
Okay. I would. So you're not doing chemo or radiation.
She's stage 0.
So it's the tamoxifen for?
That's a great question. So I've been looking at it.
I want to jump in.
Yeah, I've been looking at it, and this is what I loved about Dr. Gillen. She met me where I was cerebrally. Like, I need to just teach me the science, then tell me where I am, and then give me the context. And then, so she taught me the science first, and she said because it was estrogen and progesterone positive, that type of cancer responds to the estrogen and progesterone in your body, and the tamoxifen kind of like lowers those levels in your body. So I guess my question for you, but also for Dr. Gillen and my oncologist is
I just completed tamoxifen after 5 years. So.
And I'm like, you took my boobs off. Like where? Like there's nowhere for the, low, super low chance of recurrence. Right. Exactly. And so is it like for other parts of your body?
You're still producing. You're not menopausal. You're not even perimenopausal if you're having a normal period. So you're still producing estrogen. So we don't want your estrogen to have a good time and, and produce another cancerous cell. So it's going to, and the side effects of tamoxifen, for me, and I will say for me, were they put me on 20 milligrams, which is standard, and everything, like you would say the sky is green, I said bawling. Okay. And I was like, okay, something's wrong, because I don't cry like that. I'm like, I was like that. And then my joints hurt. So I told them either take me off, or I guess I'm gonna just be all right. We're gonna take our chances. So they reduced it, because I was really serious. And they reduced mine to 10 milligrams. I still got the hot flashes. I still suffer with that. But then it threw me, I was not menopausal. I was 45-ish, 44, 45. So I was I was probably beginning perimenopause, and it quickly threw me into menopause, which is a drug-induced menopause. So joint pain, hot flashes, better at 10. And then at year 4, it reared its ugly head, and I was just like at the orthopedist's office every day for joint pain. And he kept saying, you're dropping it like it's hot, you can't get back up. And so I became, my hemoglobin A1C, which is a marker to test if you're diabetic, went up. And I was like, I just lost 12 pounds. So eventually I got put on Ozempic. And Ozempic has an anti-inflammatory property that a lot of people don't know, and helps regulate insulin. And everything came back to normal. Within 2 weeks, I was like, So I could stay on the tamoxifen for the time that they wanted, and which I just finished this August. So
this is so important. People are like, oh, my wife is going through this, or, talk to Dr. Kordai and all these people. And you're like, it's so much. But even just in this conversation, I have an artificial left hip and a reconstructed knee. So when you say joint, it's like, okay, so that's something I need to make sure that I'm talking to my oncologist about proactively, what dosage would be the best experience, but also efficacious.
Efficacy, they might start you at 20 and see how you feel. And you may be like, nah, sir. But again, it's okay I'm not telling her to go and say, put me at 10, but at least know that if 20 doesn't work for you, there are people who've done 10 and have been successful.
But to even know that just because you're doctors, I think I would be one of those people that said, okay, the doctor prescribed 20, so that must be what I need. Versus, okay, what is the other world look like in this situation? So thank you for sharing.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah. Another question that I have for the both of you, and this is even for us too, you think about your village, you talk about your village and the people around you. What could we do to really help support what you're going through? It's one or two ways. You have the people that are like, I don't want to be doing too much. And then you have the people that are like overwhelming, right? So, right? But where's the middle ground? What makes the both of you feel the most comfortable? What would you ask for if you could just have a list Like, here's my list.
First, you want me to do it.
I will say, Sheila, you remind, like, your family reminds me of myself, which is like, I never want to be a burden to anyone else. I was like I am the daughter of a single mother. And so being the oldest, the role I played was like taking the load off of her plate and really trying to contribute. And so like I've carried that kind of like through life. And so I think from my friends, they know that about me. So it was just like, hey, I'm bringing you this, or pillows started showing up that I didn't know I was going to need, or, flowers, but just even like just stopping by. But because again, I was limiting like the number of people I told, it was never like overwhelming. It was like always just in time. But even like the little memes or text, etc. But I think like the proactive part of it for me, because I don't like to ask for help. Yeah. And I would say also that like, it was interesting. I was reading this piece of research that says like people's bandwidth for support, emotional support, is like the first 2 weeks. So yeah, like I'll find it and send it to you. But it was like the first 2 weeks, people have the emotional capacity and preserve it for you. But then it's like their life is continuing to happen, and so they kind of get back into their own flow. So I think the idea of keeping top of mind that this is not a 2-week journey, this is not a 2-month journey, it's not even a 3-month journey. I mean, obviously, it's going to be longer than that. I can only speak there, but I know that like I'm still going to be going through surgeries and all that good stuff well into the spring. So it's like, how do you, manage your calendar or whatever, like putting those little reminders in there, like hit Camille up.
Yeah, that's so true. That's actually great advice. Because you're right. People, they're there in the beginning.
Moving around.
And they're like, oh, she's better. Yeah. And you're like, okay, life goes on. But you're like, no, I'm still here. I'm still going through this.
I think like for like the physical part, you've kind of like made it through-ish. There'll be like the future surgeries. But I think what's happening for me now is like the psychological stuff is starting to kick in. The other night, I kind of like accidentally hit myself across my boob, and I was like, that should have hurt. And I was like, it didn't hurt. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not a woman. And, it's my husband, like, what is my life going to be like? That whole thing. I was like, tamoxifen is going to throw me into menopause, and I'm in my 40s, will be having the best sex of my life. And like, is that even going to happen? As I get through all of this, it all did. And that was like, it was literally like, what is it? So like, I think like it's really starting to like take root in that way. So like, my friend, if you're watching, the 2-week window, like now it's time to double down.
It's already passed. Like, come now.
Don't run away.
Your note to self.
When I think about what you both went through, and I think about, a lot of people don't necessarily talk about it when it happens, when they go through it, or sometimes at all, right? People like to like take their own journey. How do you have these conversations within your family before something happens to just even get people to go to get their mammograms every year? And what does that look like? I see that face, Sheila.
Well, I mean, I'm really type A, diligent about getting the mammograms. It's that I have dense breasts, and I always have to get the MRI, and I'm claustrophobic. So I'm a little tardy on that part. I'm like, can I just skip the mammogram and just go straight to the MRI? Because these suckers are dense.
Yeah, that's my problem too.
Yeah.
Well, why not an ultrasound? Why did they pair mammogram?
Ultrasound too. And an I do.
You get all three?
Yeah, I get all three.
Let's see for an open MRI. It's possible.
Yeah, I did.
And they said no.
They said it's better. Yeah.
I know. I can't even try.
I know. Trust, I asked too.
So is it possible to skip the mammogram and just go to the ultrasound?
So different hospitals have different protocols. I cannot speak for this hospital, but I will tell you that with my surgeon, again, from Overlook, we do mammogram, ultrasound back to back. And so, because that waiting stuff, I can't do. Yeah. And especially now, I'm like, you don't just do that mammogram, make me wait, because I need to know. I go nuts in my mind of, okay. But then again, that's trust in God at the same time. And then obviously there's some women who need a mammogram. An MRI. A mammogram will show you this if you have dense breast. An ultrasound will do this. Now, if you're pairing that with an MRI lights up everything. You're like a Christmas tree. Yeah. And it's a matter of having a wonderful radiologist and surgeon to be able to look at that and say, this is normal. and this is not. Plus the biopsy, which is the most defining thing, because it's taking your tissue and testing it to see what do those cells look like. Nothing beats a biopsy. But again,
and that's your
those are great
experience
things.
here too. Like, because I do that here. So I get the mammogram to the sonogram right away. And they're like, all right, you got the MRI. And I'm like, clam up.
But that's how people feel about a mammogram, right? They're like,
So
right?
many
They
people
know
say it's so
How do we-
painful.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I know my mom, like, she'd put it off. She's like, it hurts so bad. So when I went in there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. And I was like, this isn't terrible. I was like, what? It's not, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I take because I can't. And then again, when I had my lumpectomy, they usually put a wire guide in. They did a wire guide, injected me, put a wire, and then did the mammogram with the wire in it. So I've done the ultimate mammogram. So me now, I'm like, give me a little Tylenol, and I'm good, and let's go on. But
To your question though, the mammogram, so this was my first mammogram, and I don't know what every room looks like, but over at Bergen Imaging, I go in there, it's big. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, why wouldn't we have like girlfriend nights? Like where once a year we all just get together and
that's
like
what
go
we
get
talked
your
about.
mammogram together. Just kind of
party.
like,
We're having a mammogram.
no, it's legit. It's like, so when you ask like, how do you like hold your friends or your tribe, accountable to it? Like, just like we look forward to celebrating birthdays, milestones, accomplishments. It's like none of that, all that is fueled by our health. So it's like, why wouldn't we just have like parties and like on a regular
just have a wellness party, just a
clinics
whole
to
list.
like market those. It's just like, yes.
I would definitely say
But that just takes time too. And I think that's another thing. Sometimes like having a family, you got to get the kids to get everything done. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'll book myself. I'll do it next week. And then you're like, oh, then it's next week. Okay, it's next month. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be December.
But some of the better facilities have late hours and very early hours. So those are not excuses anymore. So we definitely have to take that onus on ourselves. But I will say that in my case, because of the advocacies, like I have a bunch of speaking engagements this week, because I'm always looking at folks during October, but also Women's History Month. I'm like, at least I get you twice. I'm like, did you do it? And sometimes it's fair. I mean, I've gone with people for ultrasounds, mammograms, because I'm like, why not? I know how it feels to be sitting on that MRI table sometimes, like, Lord, here we go, and so, to me, support a sister. That's one of the best things you can do.
So if we have a mammo party, if we have these wellness get-togethers, another side of it is how can we get healthcare providers to just take a step back and really communicate with people where they're able to receive it and they feel comfortable, because some of it is just the lack of like not just going through the mammogram, but then having, like my dad would say, well, I just feel like he talks at me, not to me, just things like that. What could we do on our end to help healthcare providers realize that although this is your job and although you understand all the things that you're saying in your head, they may not?
I would say an advocacy. And say some advocacies will say, hey, I will be in on the conversation, or you can share your results with me if you're comfortable, or we can have a conversation. I'm good for all those types of things. So like I said, for my good girlfriend, perfect example, I was on the phone. I was like, don't FaceTime me. You're right. I just woke up. But I'm like, okay. And I'm listening so I could sit down and break it to her. Now, somebody will say, oh, well, she's your friend. Find me in Talks with Dr. D. If you want to talk about something, we definitely can.
Where would you find an advocate?
So an advocate is if you type in breast cancer, and sometimes, there you can say breast cancer for Latinas. There's a 305 group in Miami who does that. Black breast cancer, the Touch Black Breast Cancer Alliance, support of my girls, Talks with Dr. D, and many others. There's tons of them where you can say, okay, let me see, because every advocacy may do something different. There's some advocacies that make sure you're getting healthy food. So I would say use your advocacy and tell your doctor, I didn't understand that. Yeah. I need you to break it down with me, and could you provide a picture? Because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah. I like the idea of going with, my dad doesn't live here, obviously, so I can't, so I have to have my sister go. But it is hard, right? Yeah, to be the advocate for him, for sure.
ChatGPT, I mean, like,
That's your advocate.
well, not necessarily your advocate, but I think that like it is a really good tool if you're saying like, hey, here's what I know, or here's what my doctor said, break this down into, language that a kindergartner could understand. Yes. What questions should I be thinking of, that I could go back to my doctor with, but like also just understanding upfront with your doctor, what is the best way to get answers, questions answered. Because
So
it's like
taking notes and then taking those notes back and putting them in Chat GPT.
Yep.
and
to make it make
and
sense.
understanding though what the best way to communicate with your doctor is, because sometimes they take calls during certain times or they email better or so it's just figuring out like how to send those questions back and forth when you're not the portal here. The portal's amazing, but yeah.
But you know what I think some people find scary too is that you need a script. Not scary, but you're like, oh, I have to call this person to get the script to then bring it, and then I have to scan it to get it to this person, and then these results are going to come from this person, and then you're like, okay, how do I make that easier? So I
Yeah.
think that's something that
I love that. That's
interesting
great
ways to,
advice for
like,
healthcare
yeah.
providers.
find it easier somehow.
Like smoother.
Like the way yours is going smooth as a team.
They were just like,
it would
answer
just
the
be
phone.
nice to have it all, but sometimes you can't. You're in all these different networks.
That's
but
the beauty, though, of having her doctor within a network that uses. I'm sure they will use Bergen, and therefore, and then your doctor obviously being amazing by having a set standard of what she does. So therefore, it makes it smoother. Like my doctor is like, you're only getting your MRI or testing here. No problem. I'll thank you because I want you I want you to be tight with the radiologist and see what you see. I always say that she can find like dust in your breast. She's just amazing. But I'm like, okay, I'd rather you find it than not find it.
So I think like for the layman, it's like if you can like try to have or coordinate your women's wellness within one system, because they typically talk better to each other versus like getting all these permission slips to share the information. And then sometimes, they're like, oh no, we're gonna have a courier service pick it up, pick the discs up and bring them. I'm like, oh, so what do you need? We were just calling to let you know. I was like, oh, okay, approved. No, I was like, whatever you need. Yeah.
So to wrap, ladies, my last question for all of you is, what would you say to someone who is watching this and has not quite gotten on the regular basis of getting wellness checks, especially in the mammograms and the breast cancer, because of the fear, because of the stigma? What would you say to her?
Oh, I just told you. I said, go do it.
I know. Yeah. I've been telling her for like 2 months. Oh yeah, I gotta book it. I've gotta book it. Like, just do it. Yeah.
And that's a good friend.
Yeah.
That's a good friend. It really is.
Don't be afraid. I would say don't be afraid. It's better to know than not know. Early detection is everything versus late. Make sure you're talking to your doctor. What tests do I need at this age? Every year or every couple of years, things add on. Ask, because you don't know what you don't know. Simply ask, what do I need this year?
And I think also what are you ruling out? Because I think doctors will based on what they know about you, rule certain things out and not even talk to you about it. Yep. And that question alone has uncovered more things and conversations with my provider. But I remember 2 weeks into the diagnosis, just feeling overwhelmed because my phone would not stop ringing. So I finally understood what my surgeon meant by just answer the phone. Yeah. And it was one of those things where I was just tired mentally. And it was one of those well, do you want to live? And it was early stage, and I knew the prognosis of 96% of women who find it early, you're good. But it was just do you want to live? And I was like, yeah. So I get on with it then. It was one of those things where it's so before knowing that anything is going on in your body, it's okay, what are you here for? Yeah. And if you have a belief that you have a higher purpose to serve, then it's your duty to make sure that you are bringing the best version of yourself. And the only way you can do that is by knowing what's happening inside of you.
And just don't wait till you have symptoms, because then that's the worst. So
Be preventative.
yeah,
not,
self-preventative. Yep.
I had a neighbor that she's Indian, and they have I'm going to mess the adage up. But she said, so when you feel it, you're fine, right? But it's what you don't feel that is lurking underneath. That often becomes the thing that is the biggest thing to address. But that's what modern healthcare is for, is to show you those things, because it wasn't something tender for me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that I was going to be able to feel during a manual.
That's right, for zero.
Exam.
Mine you could feel. Mine was the size of a golf ball, and I'm that big. And I kept saying, but I knew it was a fibroadenoma. I delayed it because I thought it was benign, and I was like, I ain't got time for that. I got to take care of these patients versus myself.
Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you so much for just sharing your stories, the resilience that you guys have both shown, and the courage to talk about it is inspiring. I could not imagine going through that a few months ago and sitting here. So the courage behind that is huge. And Dr. Corday, thank you for sharing all of the stories that you've shared across the board. And I don't know if you remember this, but you sent Kim Yell was the friend that you sent that message to, and Sisters on the Vineyard when I recorded you. It was for her. So thank you. Yes. I love you. Yes. And so just thank you for that moment. And I'm blessed. I'm so blessed in this moment that you all were able to meet. Yeah. And thank you both, Sheila and Michelle, for coming and having these conversations. And I hope that we've touched someone and that they recognize the importance of early detection is the most important part. Go get your mammogram every year, even if you think you're going to be okay. We have nothing to lose. So thank you for this time, and we'll see you next time.
All right, well, that wraps up another exciting episode of Inside Lines Podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson. Thank you for joining me and celebrating powerful women in and around sports. Your support really helps us to amplify women's voices in sports. So please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Inside Lines Podcast, or check us out on the web, www.insidelinespodcast.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's conversation. Until next time, keep the conversation going, keep celebrating women, and here's to breaking barriers, building community, and being a voice in a world that needs you. Thanks for listening.